It's now time for the Sit-Down with Don Tony.
The Sit-Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit-Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Hey, I ended up being a chooch tonight. I forgot to do my laundry. So no Italian themed shirts tonight, just the basic black shirt. Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, October 8th, 2023. Welcome to somewhat of a double episode. Your Sit Down with yours truly is live, and we're also going to talk a little bit about WWE Fastlane. That sound effect last night, you know, the car. Oh, did that get annoying? About 5-10 minutes into that premium live event. Every time they showed a replay. It reminded me of that air horn that they used to use back in the day with hip hop music. I actually had tweeted about it yesterday, but then I deleted it because it was like, you know, I'm not socializing. I'm just going to take in Fastlane as a wrestling fan, enjoy it, dissect it today. But, man, that sound effect was a little bit annoying. You know, before we get into anything, you know, I was watching the news online this afternoon, everything that is going down between Israel and Palestine. And look, I know there's a lot of, you know, opinions out there, and there are gatherings supporting both sides of the aisle. And I know some of you out there know that there's a few people who tune into my shows and other wrestling shows out there who live in that neck of the woods, both sides, Palestine and Israel. I just hope the good people on both sides stay safe. And, you know, man, I wish we didn't have tension like this in the world, but, you know, what can we do? Really, what can we do? You know, I know this sounds selfish, but I say it all the time. You know, I could find myself concerning myself, just improving my surroundings. If I could do something good myself directly, I will. And I think if a lot of people did that, you know, be a much better place. But hey, for those that are around that neck of the woods, please stay safe. Shit is crazy watching it from this far away. But all right. You know, I wanted to tell you, you know, we talked about it last week when we were doing the sit down. No, not even a sit down. It was Monday's show, plugging This Week in Wrestling History. And today happens to be exactly 1 year later that Bray Wyatt made his return. When it was revealed that it was Bray Wyatt and he did that emotional speech in the middle of the ring, it happened 1 year ago today. If you would have said a year ago that Bray Wyatt would no longer be here physically on this earth, I would have said you're fucking crazy. Or, you know, we would have been more concerned about mental health than the physical health. You know, it's just kind of mind blowing that a year later, and believe it or not, tomorrow on the Raw Post Show, when we preview this week's episode of This Week in Wrestling History, it's this week that we had the first vignette hyping the Wyatt family coming to the WWE. We're coming. And by the way, Tuesday is the 13-year anniversary of They're Here. They're coming. They're here. 10-10-10. An infamous moment in Impact Wrestling history, or TNA history. I know we closed out yesterday mentioning it. I was surprised at how many people were not aware about the 10-10-10. You know, I still will never forget that visual of Jeff Hardy, Jeff Jarrett, and Abyss in the ring holding this giant sign that says They're Here, and it's not even spelled correctly. Yeah, it's pretty wild. You know, I will say this too. I was watching because I was trying to find the soundbite for it. I was rewatching some of the Monday Night War miniseries that WWE did many, many years ago. I can't believe how many years ago that's been. It's kind of mind-boggling to see Kevin Nash with, his look when CM Punk was around the last time in the WWE. That was, I can't believe how many years ago, but I strongly suggest for some of you out there that may have never seen the miniseries or maybe haven't seen it in a very long time, watch episode 19. It is the episode right before WWE bought WCW. And I tell you, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you watch episode 19 when the ratings shifted. If you take away WCW, you put AEW in its place, there are so many goddamn similarities. From every match using props and, too many title. At that time, too many title changes. I think there was like 14 world title changes in 6 months. We don't have that many in AEW, but we got a crazy amount of titles. And the point that was made on episode 19 about things like that is that when everybody uses, props and is all disarray, then nothing is in disarray. And when everybody has a title, nobody has a title. Yesterday, there was a little bit of controversy with AEW Collision because FTR dropped the tag team titles. And I had a few wise asses that tried to rub it in my face because yesterday we had a little discussion about AEW that their TV show is too predictable. And we used this coming episode, which was last night's Collision. And we were saying, does any match seem like, there's not a predictable outcome? And I had a few people like, oh, you see, FTR dropped the titles. Bet you weren't expecting that on Collision. You see, AEW is unpredictable. No. Cash Wheeler has an injury, and they dropped the titles in 4 minutes to Ricky Starks and Big Bill. And as much as I root for Big Bill and Ricky Starks does not knock on my door like, oh, I can't wait to see their reign and see. They took the titles off of FTR because of Cash Wheeler's injury. And as soon as I watched that 4-minute match yesterday, the first thoughts that came to my mind is, why the fuck does MJF still have a Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship? You do this because Cash Wheeler has, I guess, a rib injury or something, but and I get it, MJF is the most over person in the company. But, it's the fear that if they take the title off of him, that, he's going to lose some type of momentum is asinine and stupid. But anyway, we'll talk maybe about that a little bit more later, depending on all of you. For those that are new to our Sunday night show, what is the sit down? The sit down is simple. I show up with nothing, no papers, no nothing, no news. You dictate what we discuss on the show. The only requirements, if you want to be part of the show and dictate what topics we discuss, and anything is on the table. As we'll see, we talk about whatever you feel like it. Only requirements, you have to be in the chat room if you want to contribute. It's free. If you post a question, just write the word question before it so I could spot it quicker. If you have a comment you want me to share with the world, write comment before it. And as always, Super Chats never required, but they help pay the bills. They help keep me around. They'll always get some VIP treatment. And also today, we're going to talk a little bit about Fastlane last night. Definitely deserves a little bit of a review. I will tell you this before we get into individual match results, and I gathered a whole bunch of pictures from yesterday that anybody that did not see it, give you a little vibe as to what went down. I will tell you my reactions right off the bat is I'm blown away. I'm really blown away. The lack of mention of a certain wrestler in WWE after Seth Rollins retained the World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. I watched pretty esteemed journalists out there, and I don't know if it was clickbait or they're just stupid, posing the question, where does Nakamura go from here? Nakamura was never supposed to get the championship. In fact, it took a lot of weeks and build to repair a lot of the Nakamura damage over the last bunch of years. It's not Nakamura's fault. I think people forget Nakamura had one of the worst, Intercontinental Championship? No, IC title reigns. No, U.S. title reigns of all time. Wasn't that long ago. They have damaged, and I don't want to say damaged like his WWE career sucked. I don't mean that, but I mean they put him in such mid-card mediocrity for so long that the idea of Shinsuke Nakamura main eventing a WWE event that's not taking place in Japan would be unheard of in 2023. So where does Nakamura go from here? The fuck you talking about? Nakamura is probably at the best that he's been. Now when he has feuds, people are paying attention to it a little bit more. But the person that I saw, I'm not kidding when I say this, maybe 5% of the wrestling community mentioned this man's name yesterday. Kevin and I talked about it on Tuesday. Kevin and I are still sticking with it. Drew McIntyre. I still think Drew McIntyre in the very near future is feuding with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is one of the most over wrestlers right now. Whether you think his outfits are goofy or maybe his antics are a little bit over the top, Seth Rollins is one of the guys. And if you want Drew McIntyre to get over as a full-blown heel and a threat, beating up the New Day is fun at times, but it gets old kind of quickly. What is he going to do? Beat up Ricochet? It's like Drew McIntyre, this turn is to get him to the next level. And I think Drew McIntyre should be next in line. If he is not next in line within the next 4 to 6 weeks after Saudi Arabia, I think Drew McIntyre is the one that could take that championship off of Seth Rollins. I think everybody was focused yesterday on the cash-in. The cash-in with Damian Priest. Why? Because it's that unexpected, emotional high, like, surprise, crackerjack surprise, mystery. Doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense for him to cash in yesterday. You want to sell the fact that JD McDonough screwed up yesterday big. And guess what? I think Rhea Ripley is going to blame the briefcase on a lot of their mishaps, a lot of their recent mishaps, the briefcase more than anything else. You got to maximize how bad JD McDonough screwed up. And if Damian Priest ultimately gets thrown out of Judgment Day or he quits Judgment Day, then now Finn Balor is the new perceived leader. I know some people think Rhea Ripley could be the perceived leader, but Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonough, and Finn Balor being sort of their mentor, yeah, I could see it happening, absolutely. I think people think that Damian Priest versus Finn Balor might be a feud at WrestleMania. And they faced each other before. I think a lot of people forget that. But Damian Priest, once we had the opening match yesterday, you have to maximize how fucked up JD McDonough was yesterday, how much he caused disaster for the Judgment Day. Let that sink in a little bit. So I did not think there was going to be a cash in at all yesterday. And I will tell you this, props to WWE for doing that segment where Damian Priest was icing his knee. Damian Priest wanted to go out there and cash in. And Rhea Ripley says, not tonight. Not tonight. You're in no condition. Give me the briefcase. Damian Priest reluctantly gave the briefcase. I love that WWE did that because in most people's heads, it should have removed the thought that once Seth Rollins retains, that Damian Priest doesn't come out there, lay out Seth Rollins, and cash in. I think it allowed people to enjoy Seth Rollins versus Nakamura because they tore it up yesterday. They tore it up. And one of the things that sucks about pro wrestling, not the whining and complaining online. That's something else. But you know what? One thing that really sucks about wrestling? When you're watching a really good match, when you're watching something special happening in front of your eyes, doesn't mean it's one of the all-time unbelievable, I'm going to remember the match 5 years from now moments. But when you have something really good in front of your face, but yet in the back of your mind, all you keep thinking about is, when is Damian Priest going to come out? When is he going to cash in? When is his music going to hit? When he's going to cash in? That kind of happened yesterday with Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. They're having a match, and we're trying to get into the match, and Santos is kicking ass, doing great. Montez Ford, kind of getting comfortable in his heel role. And all people kept talking about during the matches, when is Carlito's music going to hit? When is Carlito's going to... Oh, it's going to be Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny, you advertise. You advertise way in advance. But that's all people kept talking about. When is he going to come out? When is he going to come out? When is he going to come out? Maybe he's not going to come out. Just enjoy the match. I hate those type of distractions. And yesterday, when it comes to Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura, they did a good job. Clearing that Damian Priest element of it. Damian Priest will cash in, and I think Damian Priest will successfully win a championship. But right now, it's not in the cards. I don't want Damian Priest to cash in and fail just to have that orgasmic, emotional moment that, big surprise. Who knows? Maybe Damian Priest cashes in on the NXT heavyweight champion. Or maybe Gunther. I know. I get it. I know what a lot of you are saying right now, DT, the cash-in should only be a world heavyweight championship. But remember, WWE planted that seed a while ago that if somebody wins the briefcase, they could cash in on anybody they want. Yeah, they used Riddle. Matt Riddle is an example, and Matt Riddle, the character, bro, I could cash it in on Gunther, bro. Probably not the best example, and that's not a shot on Matt Riddle. It's you want to keep the World Heavyweight Championship feel put it this way. If this was a lamp and you rubbed it, and a genie came out, I give you 3 wishes. I promise you, one of my wishes is not going to be, give me $100. I got to pay my cell phone bill. I'm going to ask for the biggest fucking prize that I could possibly get. You win a shopping spree. You could take anything you want in the store. You know what? Give me that gum. I haven't had gum in a long time. Why would you? I'm not saying that Gunther's championship is equivalent to a pack of gum, but you don't want to diminish the importance of a world heavyweight championship. So, yesterday's event, listen, I'm going to say this like this. It's not a shot in AEW. Anybody that's old like me will get this. Back in the 2000s, I worked for Frank Goodman, USA Pro Wrestling, UXW, did stuff behind the scenes, did some crappy stuff on camera. And if you ever go watch old shoot interviews, especially wrestlers from the Northeast, I even think CM Punk joked about it on his shoot interview a long time ago, and others. A lot of wrestlers did. Whenever Frank Goodman had an indie show in New York, these shows would be 6 hours long, 4 hours long, 5 hours long. And there are countless, I'm talking double digit, 20, 30, 40 shoot interviews where wrestlers would be asked about Frank Goodman. Oh, Got to bring a sleeping bag. You got to fucking prepare breakfast, lunch, and dinner when you go to his shows. It's a fucking marathon. You show up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't leave the building till 2 o'clock the next morning. The reason why Frank Goodman used to get 1,000 people at a show was because he loaded up his card with so many matches and so much diversity. There was something for everyone. There was eye candy. There was great wrestling. There was legends. There was future stars, current stars, controversy. You had gay characters. You had straight characters. You had neo-Nazi characters, which obviously wouldn't be done today. You had wild brawls. You had beautiful wrestling. You had cat fights. You had everything. So if you went, you knew that you were going to go home with a big, full stomach. AEW last week did 14 matches on their pay-per-view. WWE yesterday did 5. 5. What does that tell you? That tells you that quality over quantity is the formula for a lot of places out there. Sometimes quantity over quality. Listen, some of those matches on AEW's card were great. They were absolutely bangers. But that doesn't mean that you're going to kill it with pay-per-view buys. That doesn't mean you're going to kill it with attendance. That doesn't mean you're going to kill it with unbelievable ratings. Just because people tell you, you got to see Kyle Fletcher and Bryan Danielson. Oh my God, you got to see it. Why? Because it was amazing. It was epic. It was unbelievable. You had to see the fucking dives and the moves. And but I don't care about Kyle Fletcher yet. But if that was the case, off-Broadway plays would be killing it in the ratings and the numbers and the attendance and the revenue. You go to an off-Broadway play and some of the people that act there, I used to go, are 10 times more talented than the people who are on Broadway. And they still only draw 100. Why? Because it's not always about. So yesterday we had 5 matches. Last week with AEW I had 14, almost 3 times as much. And now you're hearing that people lied about the AEW buy rate, that people threw a number out there, and now people are like, where did the number come from? It's almost like the Dolph Ziggler interview. We'll have fun with that tomorrow. The Dolph Ziggler interview that never existed. I got screenshots of stuff. I'll tell you this before we get into the match results for yesterday, and then we'll do questions. I know a lot of you got tired of me bringing it up, but I've been around since 97. And because I'm so old and been doing this for so long, you spot things developing and happening before most people do. It's not a bragging thing. It's just, observation. And a long time ago, I started bringing all of you attention to what is starting to happen on social media and happening on YouTube as well, that people will just clickbait you and do whatever they possibly can to get you to click on their video, click on their article, click on their tweet, especially when there's money involved. Because at the end of the day, people just want to sit on their ass and collect as much money as they possibly can. You don't see many people showing videos of them fucking throwing frisbees. I don't do it either, but you don't see people out there fucking hanging out, having a barbecue, going in the pool, going in the beach, going shopping, going mountain climbing, going to the fucking walking the dog. No, everybody is fucking click on me, click on me, click on me. And now you see the garbage, what has happened over the last 2 years especially. You go back and you remember the Mercedes Moné stuff that I keep beating to death. TV 14. You remember last year? Tonight's the last night that WWE will be PG starting tomorrow. And just people just lie and lie and lie and lie. And then all is forgiven a week later. Now you have places purposely putting up fake stories or purposely writing wrong things because they know you'll click on it to say, you made a mistake here. Notice how nobody deletes a tweet. Why would you not delete a fucking tweet? I'll give you a good example. Certain wrestling news site, I don't want to say who it is, but a certain wrestling news site posted a link, an article, talking about 1 year anniversary of Bray Wyatt, his return and what has happened. And when you look at the tweet, it's a picture of Adam Copeland in AEW. And the reason why is because when you go to the link, there's a bunch of things being talked about, and the picture that they chose to put on that link was Adam Copeland AEW. So they posted the link for people to click on it so you could read about the Bray Wyatt stuff. So people pointed out in droves, you couldn't even put a picture of Bray Wyatt. It just showed Adam Copeland in AEW. The person never took it down. Why wouldn't you just delete it and repost it with a correct picture? There is a website right now that said that Roman Reigns is the latest Paul Heyman guy. I don't remember the exact title, but that it just happened. That Paul Heyman announces Roman Reigns is the next Paul Heyman guy. The article is about Braun Breaker. And you will see about 5,000 responses. It's not Roman. Where have you been? It's Braun Breaker. And if you go on the website, they still have it as Roman. Because on all the Google and the Yahoo and the Altavistas and wherever you search for stuff, when you look it up, Paul Heyman, you see Paul Heyman announces Roman is the next Paul Heyman guy. And it's dated now. They never fixed it because they know you're going to get a surge of people to say, you made a typo, you made a mistake, why didn't you fix it? This is the latest that people are doing. The Dolph Ziggler interview from a couple of days ago, it never existed. And you got to see not only the places that put, even Dolph Ziggler's brother called out elements of Shitskeeda. Remember what I said, Sportskeeda, there's some good people there, but there's the shittiest of the shit there as well. Shitskeeda posted the article about this interview recap that didn't exist. And they were called out on it. They left it up for 3 fucking days before taking it down because they wanted to maximize as many hits as they possibly can, get whatever ad revenue that they can milk out of it, and then delete it. That's one of the reasons, honestly, I'm not going to lie, why I've been thinking at times to go back to audio only. Because it's not fun, to lose a lot of numbers, lose a lot of exposure, and even revenue at times to have, stuff on video. And then you got to compete with people that are posting things deliberately wrong or knowing that a story is not true. And people will flock to those, get mad for a few seconds, but then continue flocking there. So we'll get into some of that tomorrow. But I got to comment something else about Fastlane yesterday. Carlito did make his return. And listen, we know how Carlito looks. We've seen him. He was in Puerto Rico not too long ago. Carlito looks tremendous. And he hasn't skipped a beat. Yesterday was great to see Carlito. The big controversy is about his music. I can't play the video clip, but I sure as hell can play the audio of it. For those that did not see Fastlane, this is the music. And you know what's interesting about it? If you remember the show I did yesterday, and we were talking about Carlito possibly appearing, we were talking about the idea of Carlito turning on Rey and Santos Escobar. And, one thing that we also talked about yesterday was his music. And I had said, as a baby face, I spit in the face of people who aren't cool, who don't want to be cool. That's heel. That's not baby face. And we talked about it on yesterday's Don Tony show before Fastlane even aired that, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't match a baby face to hear. I mean, it's retro. It's legendary. We haven't, we miss Carlito. He's got some good moments. We think he should have been back a long time ago. But at the end of the day, when you hear that theme is for a heel. And yesterday, they changed his music. My honest opinion, it is temporary. My honest opinion, this music was just done because they did not want to do I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool. I don't think that reeks of, like, you know what I mean? Like, you hear it, you'd be like, oh, like, seriously, if you hear, as soon as you hear the beginning, you'd be like, but they do the music, and the intention is to do this.
Zelina Vega begging for Mysterio to make it.
Cool is?
Rey Mysterio's got backup.
That's what it was.
I guess his phone call was answered. It's Carlito. Carlito's here.
That's what it was.
This one might flatten the bunch. And Carlito now.
That's what it was about. It was about jump out of your seat and dance. That's what it was. That's the entertainment aspect of it. I don't expect that music to stick around. It got a wild negative reaction yesterday. Honestly, I didn't think the music was that big of a deal. It's too generic, though. It's too generic. Like, if you have like somebody from the Latino music world today that makes an appearance for WWE, like, next month, WWE is going to be in Tijuana and guest host Jose Cuervos will be there. You have Jose Cuervos, he goes to the ring, you play that music. People are like, oh, I feel good, I want to dance. That's not an entrance theme. That is generic shit. That's my honest take on it. Don't lose sleep over Carlito's music. I still think he's going to turn. I don't see Carlito in the LWO for any extended period of time. To me, it just doesn't feel like it matches the character. I don't want to compare it to this person, but I'm going to, because I was always a fan of his. And he used to enjoy my shows, even back in the Minority Report days. DLo Brown, when he was a heel, I can't even do the neck. When he was a heel, fucking everybody loved him. When he was just that wise ass, cocky, everything about DLo Brown. When DLo Brown made his return to the WWE, I think in the mid-2000s, whatever it was, like, he came back as a baby face, and like, it was a fun moment. I still remember the night he came out. Kevin and I did our show that night, and we were excited to see him back. Within 2-3 weeks, that fun factor died. It just evaporated. There was nothing about DLo Brown that just made you want to it's just happy times, and it was a shame because he could still work. Even when he made his return that night, he showed he still could fucking go. It's not like he just planted himself in the ground for 10 years and nobody knew what he was doing. But with Carlito, I think that will get old very, very quickly. And I think Carlito will they will change his music almost immediately within a few weeks, or they turn him heel. And he'll go right back to the music he had before. That's what I think. Hit me up, says DLo was a part of Nation of Domination. Yeah. I know everything about the history. They were heels. DLo Brown as a heel, and even when he was, what did he team up with? Chaz? Remember Lowdown? Lowdown was good. I used to love that song. Lowdown's theme music was great. So Carlito, don't lose sleep over his music because I don't expect that to stick around all that long. So, all right. Trying to think what other things before we get into the overall matches. Oh, there's something else I do want to share. You know, she did it on SmackDown, and it was terrible. We talked about it during the watch party Friday, and we talked about it on yesterday's Don Tony show when we were recapping SmackDown. She did it again at Fastlane, and she doubled down, and it was twice as bad. Charlotte Flair needs to stop whatever this. It's like she bought the buckshot lariat on Wish. You know, like, I get it. You get a move that everybody has done, or a lot of people have done, and you try to put your own little spin on it. You're like the figure four. Charlotte Flair isn't content about just doing a figure four. She's got to do a figure eight, and she's got to, lift her head up and to put her spin on it, to make her version of it stand out from everyone else. That's fine. It feels like she's trying to do that with, I guess, people say it's a clothesline. To me, it feels more of like the buckshot lariat. Because if you watch when Hangman Page does it and other wrestlers have done it, they flip over the rope and then they charge and hit their clothesline. For Charlotte Flair, instead of flipping over the rope, it's let me go in the corner and do a fucking somersault or whatever it is. Honestly, just think about science and think about momentum. If I'm standing in one quarter, all right, it doesn't even have to be a wrestling ring. I'm standing in Walmart and I'm standing in the corner and I see some scumbag that I want to just deck. I have a shopping cart and I want to just fucking push this shopping cart as fast as I could and break his fucking legs. All right, he's standing at the cash register. I'm in the corner and I got my shopping cart and I'm just standing there. And then when he turned around and he's playing with his phone, I start running with the shopping cart. And at the last second, I push while I'm running. That son of a bitch, that shopping cart is so fast that when I let go, this guy's going to flip up in the air and land on his head, and I'll probably get arrested for attempted murder. If I stop and do a somersault and then push the shopping cart, it's going to tap him in the ass, and he'd be like, the fuck you doing? For those with video, look at your screen. This is what Charlotte Flair thinks, like maximizes the impact. And by the way, when you watch it, I'll play it twice because I want you to focus on something else. First, just watch Charlotte.
And Charlotte, that step over into the clothesline yet again.
Okay. She does this flip. She stops. And then she tries the clothesline. Now, I'm going to play it again. But this time, I want you to focus on Asuka and Io Sky the whole time. Just watch them, especially in the beginning.
And Charlotte, that step over.
They're like they have to stand there and wait. There's no even timing with it. It looks so bad. I mean, I get she's trying to put her own personal spin on it, but it sucks. It doesn't look good. I'm one of the biggest Charlotte Flair fans out there. I have said it many times. Charlotte Flair is the number one woman in wrestling over the last 20 years, probably. You know, I know a lot of people think that Becky Lynch has surpassed her. I still think Charlotte Flair is number one on that list overall. But this is not, first of all, you're running on such a short distance. So there's no way to even smooth that out unless Asuka or Io Sky or whoever her opponent is in the opposite corner, like close to the opposite corner. When you're standing in the middle of the ring, your opponent is standing in the middle of the ring, that distance never changes. So even if she smooths out or flips faster The distance from where she lands to where she clotheslines is about this much. Look at it one more time. When Charlotte lands, look how close she is to Io Sky and Asuka.
To the clothesline yet.
Hold on. All right, let me play one more time.
And Charlotte.
She is literally within arm's distance. She has to be because she has to clothesline them. She lands literally in front of them. Like she could literally flip over and go, hey, how you doing? It doesn't look good. And it doesn't get better because the distance is too close. She doesn't gain any new momentum. Like it's not like like she continues her speed. She has to stop, plant. Doesn't look good at all. Something else yesterday that happened at Fastlane that was very cool. If you saw the pre-show, then you saw this. If you did not see the pre-show, Jade Cargill did show up. I know what a lot of people were saying. Why was she dressed in that outfit if she wasn't going to wrestle or wasn't going to be at ringside or wasn't going to confront anybody? I don't know if people have watched other wrestlers sitting in attendance when they are at ringside or they do show up. They do dress in their gear. They might be wearing a shirt at minimum, but I personally think they were doing a photo shoot with Jade Cargill yesterday. But she came out of the limo and she was dressed in gear. So, but still, she looked like $1 million. She looked like a superhero. She looks like you could picture the storyline where the entire women's division in WWE is envious of her. I'm not saying that Charlotte Flair is not attractive. Charlotte Flair doesn't look like somebody you would see as a superhero in a DC Comics movie. You know what I mean? Like she looks like something that you would draw out of a magazine. But she looked spectacular yesterday. And, WWE is treating her like she is part of my, expression, the next big thing. She is probably the female equivalent of the next big thing. And she's not going to be Brock Lesnar, but that's how they're treating her. They're treating her, they're putting a lot of investment in her. And they're pretty confident that she is going to deliver. And there's honestly no reason why to think otherwise. It's just, and listen, we're not going to get into the media scrum today. I have a video clip for you tomorrow that has Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes in it, but it's spliced up enough that I won't get in any copyright trouble. But I did watch the media scrum yesterday, and Triple H did talk about Jade Cargill. And he said, and I appreciate those who shouted out Kevin and I, because we had this conversation about Jade Cargill on our September 26th episode. If you haven't checked it out yet, you should. We had about a 20-minute conversation about Jade Cargill. But, everyone out there, wants to tell you, oh, this is happening and this is happening and this WWE is considering this and that. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's let me write something different to get you to click on my shit. And Triple H told everyone yesterday, look, she's not ready. And pretty much he said, we'll bring her when she's ready. That's not how we do things here. We're going to take our time. And when we feel that she is ready for the next level, the next step, we will take that step. End of story. I know it's boring and I know it's unsexy, but that is what the truth is. That's what the truth is. And I will say one other thing. I'm sure a lot of you out there that pay attention to the entertainment world and the football world know why Taylor Swift, her name is all over press. Her recent concerts and the amount of money people paid to see her. Taylor Swift is everywhere. I couldn't help but laugh yesterday. As far as I know, the person that asked the Taylor Swift question, the Io Sky at the media scrum is a basketball player for the Indiana Pacers. I believe that's what somebody told me. Somebody said it was not just a goofy journalist, right, saying something dumb. It was a basketball player asking, just a lighthearted question. And the reason why he was asking a lighthearted question about that is because if you follow football and you know the tie with Taylor Swift, you understand why I'm saying that. Austin says it's Travis Kelce. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. All right. So, you let it go. It was, tongue-in-cheek question. It wasn't a journalist. So that's why I didn't think much of it. But I did laugh at so many media outlets out there in wrestling that really couldn't help but to keep calling it like one of the dumbest questions. What asked I? But yet they wrote articles about it. Like when someone asks a really stupid question, you just ignore it. You know what I mean? Like, these people trash the shit out of that question like it mattered, and then they write articles about it. You go on Yahoo News or Microsoft Bing or whatever shit is out there that has wrestling featured, and the big article you'll see is Io Sky says she's ready for Taylor Swift. These are the same people that ripped the shit out of the person who asked the question. They couldn't wait to turn it into a news article so they could get some ad revenue off of it. So I don't know. Mike says basketball player asked a different question. All right. I know he asked questions to Io Sky. The point is, big fucking deal. Big deal. Big deal. If an entertainer is all over the news, and listen, with all due respect, you look at Bad Bunny. I'm not saying that Taylor Swift will ever become a wrestler. You look at Bad Bunny and you see what he has done. And you look at Logan Paul, who wasn't a wrestler, you see what he has done. You ask yourself, you know what? Would it surprise you if WWE had a female singer performer end up? Didn't we have like rumors about Lil Kim or Beyonce or somebody, possibly doing something at WrestleMania last year or the year before? It's not, as wild as it sounds, but I think people just spent way too much time on that shit. So Cardi B, thank you, Kevin and Jazz. Cardi B. Does Cardi B even know who Roman Reigns is? Seriously. I mean, if somebody would have asked that yesterday, and someone did about WrestleMania, why? Why would Taylor Swift? Why was it such like one of the dumbest things I ever heard? Oh. Dragon Den says Cardi B knows Ray. But she may not know who Roman Reigns is. So, all right. Just very quickly for results yesterday. Fastlane, as we said, we don't have to spend much time on it because, like I said, we already talked about individual match results. But WWE Fastlane opening match yesterday, shocked, but not. If you tune in to Tuesday's predictions with Kevin and I, we thought the Judgment Day were going to retain. That was the match we got wrong. But if you recall, we also brought up that if Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes were to win those tag titles, that would be the easiest excuse to get them active on SmackDown again without being drafted. Cody Rhodes winning the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships now gets him on SmackDown without telling the WWE Universe, so, got some news. Somebody has to be drafted to SmackDown, and it's going to be me. They don't have to do that now. Because he's a tag team champion, he could already show up on SmackDown. Now, I know what some of you are going to say right off the bat. Well, DT, if he appears on SmackDown, it's as a tag team champion only, not as a singles wrestler. Yes, I get it. I still think in the very near future, he announces he is drafted to SmackDown. But now they kind of cover their ass, because remember what we said, if that announcement on NXT is that Cody Rhodes is drafted to SmackDown, it would be the wisest place to do it, because NXT is neutral ground. NXT, we know Cody's not going to be there on a weekly basis. So if Cody announces on NXT he's drafted to SmackDown, you don't have to worry about the Raw crowd being a little bit pissed live because, oh, well, Cody's deserting Raw. He's going to SmackDown. We're at Raw. Boo. Of course, people aren't going to boo, but some people will take it personal. So now Cody Rhodes, if he's drafted to SmackDown, he could still show up at Raw because he is a tag team champion for both brands. So you allow Cody now to go to SmackDown, stay on Raw. If he gets drafted to SmackDown, he could still go to Raw because he is a tag team champion. So yesterday, this was the opening match, and I am straight up honest with my shows. I know sometimes people don't like my comments, but this match was fun. But this felt like every match we have seen on Raw. We had your typical Judgment Day versus either Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, or a combination thereof. It was a competitive back and forth match. It felt more important, obviously, but it had your usual ingredients. Very even match. Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso getting the upper hand towards the end. And here comes Dominic Mysterio. Here comes Rhea Ripley. Here comes JD McDonough. Ironically, no Jimmy Uso. Didn't we just have on SmackDown the agreement, the alliance? Where was Jimmy Uso out of all of this? So what ends up happening, Dominic Mysterio gets involved. We get a brief moment of a stare down between Rhea Ripley and Jey Uso. Kind of almost had a little bit of sexual tension in the air, but it was a funny, lighthearted moment. But Dominic gets leveled. JD McDonough gets involved. JD McDonough ends up getting the briefcase, and he is going to try to whack Cody Rhodes with the briefcase. Unfortunately, Cody Rhodes moves out of the way. Damian Priest ends up getting whacked with the briefcase. And I tell you, Damian Priest, honestly, was the MVP out of everything that we watched yesterday, simply because so many people online were convinced Damian Priest got seriously injured. He buckled. Everybody focused like, holy shit, I hope Damian Priest is okay. But in the end, JD McDonough fucks up big time. Damian Priest gets whacked in the leg. Cody Rhodes puts him through the table. Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso return to the ring. Cody hits the Cody cutter on Finn Balor as Jay, I guess, is kind of dropping Finn. It was a nice double team move, but Cody hits the Cody cutter. They are your new WWE Undisputed Tag Team Champions. And if you have not checked out the post-media scrum as of yet, you gotta. Most people agree that Jey Uso was bombed, drunk, maybe a little stoned. I don't know. Jey Uso seems like he's high on life. Jey Uso, and listen, Cody Rhodes couldn't help but bust out laughing yesterday as well. The media scrum, Jey Uso was in a different planet yesterday. But you know what? People, listen, it had a different vibe. You know, again, this is not your, WWE Vince McMahon family-owned, publicly traded company. You got to remember who owns it now. Endeavor, the TKO Media Group Holdings. Not saying that they allow. Have you noticed on social media, like some of what you're seeing? Listen, I'm not trying to be the PC police here, but if you remember before the merger was completed, a lot of you kept asking me, DT, what do you think is going to change? What do you think is going to change on TV? What do you think is going to change with WWE? And what did I keep saying over and over again? I think you're going to see more of the adult aspect, but not to the level where the advertisers, are concerned. It's still going to be PG. It's still going to, but there's going to be moments where advertisers are not involved, and you're going to see where the wrestlers have a little bit more freedom, could be a little bit more expressive, could be a little bit more revealing. That's why I think ultimately Mandy Rose will return. I think TKO Group Holdings will not have too much of a problem of Mandy Rose doing what she's doing. And I don't think advertisers would have an issue with it either, because the advertisers are advertising what is on TV. What you do outside of TV is none of their concern. Sure, they might not be thrilled about it, but as long as she doesn't plug her OnlyFans on TV, NXT, wherever she is, it's not going to be a big deal. Have you seen the outfit that Chelsea Green reposted on Twitter? It's revealing. And honestly, listen, Chelsea Green is a beautiful woman. But if you look at that, just think Halloween in the red outfit. You know which one I'm talking about. If that was Mandy Rose posing in that picture a year ago, and you found out WWE fired her because she was posting pictures like that on her OnlyFans or the Fan Time, you would have been like, you know what? That picture, if that was a year ago, Chelsea Green may be in some hot water over it. But you see that a little more relaxed. So I don't think him having a couple of cocktails after, he didn't do anything illegal. You know, Jey Uso, it's a different vibe because he has been, arguably the MVP of the Bloodline storyline. I mean, there were moments where Sami Zayn was the guy. Roman Reigns obviously is the godfather. He is the leader. But the acting, the visuals, the expression, the mannerisms, Jey Uso, in a lot of people's eyes, is the top guy. And we have embraced main event Uso. It does not feel strange. Yeah, seeing the Usos no longer teaming right now feels strange. It does, but it does not feel Bubba Ray and Reverend Devon strange. When WWE split up the Dudleys back in the 2000s, it didn't make sense. They were on a roll, momentum. It wasn't played out. All of us watching at the time, we didn't feel like, the Dudleys have done it all. Maybe they should just split them up. And they split them up. And people still, to this day, don't understand why they were split up. The Usos, let's be honest, a month ago, it felt like the Bloodline storyline hit a brick wall, and it has. That's why the Usos are split up. But Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, please, I'm not trying to say that they are going to be this, but this could be like a Booker T. Goldust situation where you're talking about two wrestlers that you would not expect to be really gelling as a tag team, but have this comedic vibe about them where even not intentional, their interaction, their discussions, it just creates magic. Believe me, I do not think in the least bit that WWE, and I really believe so, I don't think Triple H, I don't think anybody in WWE creative thought that Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso would have this vibe with the tag team, like, that is the next team that is put together, everybody's going to fall in love with. No, I think they were put together to advance the Bloodline storyline, and now to get Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso involved on SmackDown without being drafted to SmackDown. But after watching that media scrum yesterday, and you see the dynamic with Cody, and yes, I'm kind of tired of that word. That word, a lot of people think that Jey Uso invented that word. That word's been around. If you go on like Urban Dictionary and others, that word's been around for decades. But now everybody said, but to hear Cody say it, it's almost like, I'm not saying I know a lot of people like to joke about Cody with, with racial equality. I mean, we all try to treat each other as equal. But with Cody, people try to go over the top that Cody's trying to like heal the world. But, you know, when you see Cody Rhodes go and yeet, you know what I mean? It's like the scene in Airplane with the old lady that's on the plane and she's talking to those two Jamaican guys and they, oh, I speak jive. You know, Mama said that. Like, it was just, that's what it felt like. Like, Cody's trying to be cool with the yeet, and he doesn't come off cool, but just the dynamic between the two. So, I thought this was great. Very unexpected. Now the question is, where does the Judgment Day go from here? Is this the beginning of Damian Priest exiting the Judgment Day? Whether by choice or forced, that is the question going forward. Now, I don't think I'm using this picture for Monday's show. If I'm too lazy to make a thumbnail, I might use it. But this is what the Judgment Day looks like right now after the fallout of Fastlane. Finn Balor is holding a pair of paper bags. Dominic Mysterio still has his NXT North American Championship. And Damian Priest, he's got a paper bag and a briefcase. And Rhea Ripley still leading the way. So we have to see now what happens on Raw Monday. And I personally think the briefcase is going to be what causes the split with Damian Priest and the Judgment Day. That is something that we said 6 weeks ago. Remember the comedy antics where Damian Priest went to push the briefcase to Finn Balor and it went through Finn Balor's legs? It was like a bad cartoon and Finn Balor's just standing there like, and then he gets hit in the head. It was like a bad cartoon. It was funny, but they moved away from that for a month. And this is a pattern WWE's done with a lot of storylines. They like to milk weeks. You know, you want a good example of that too? Jey Uso. Did you hear the commentary yesterday when they keep talking about Kevin Owens? Like he doesn't trust Jey Uso after everything he did in the Bloodline. They were playing off yesterday with Michael Cole and Wade Barrett and Corey Graves. Wade Barrett on the pre-show, Corey Graves later on. That Jey Uso, when he came to Raw, like he had like a lot of proving to do. People forget that Jey Uso feuded with Roman Reigns, quit the Bloodline, and built up a storyline for 6 weeks that led to a tribal combat match. We had more weeks of Jey Uso out of the Bloodline leading up to tribal combat than him being on Raw. And we're supposed to forget that for a month and a half before he came to Raw, before Deuces out, whatever he said, Deuces looses, loosey-goosey, whatever he said, we're supposed to forget that for 2 months, Jey Uso was out of the Bloodline. They're acting like Jey Uso went straight from the Bloodline to Raw. And this is what they do. They start something and then they kind of wait a month and then they continue it. And we're supposed to forget that, you know, that time frame, like it never happened. It never happened. So that was your match yesterday. Fun surprise, fallout on Raw, JD McDonough. Finn Balor's going to take JD McDonough's side. Damian Priest is going to be pissed. They're going to blame it on the briefcase, and the briefcase is going to be ultimately what splits up the Judgment Day and Damian Priest. We just have to figure out, does Damian Priest quit, or do they pull an edge on Damian Priest? We will wait and see. Your second match yesterday, and, you know, we'll speed this up a little bit because I know a lot of you have questions. We want to get into that. We've already gone an hour. This is very easy to get into. We had the LWO, Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio with a mystery partner taking on Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. I loved Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits outfit. The black and gold looks phenomenal. It matches Bobby Lashley's colors. They come out to the ring. Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar do not have a partner, and we're wondering. And I guess this story was supposed to be that Ray did not know if this person was going to appear. Early on, Santos Escobar doing all the offense, having some great interaction with Montez Ford. Montez Ford getting very animated with the fans. He's starting to get acclimated as being a heel. Ray getting tossed around a little bit like a rag doll. We even had a moment where Zelina Vega hit a meteora onto Montez Ford. I got a great picture of that. And Ray is getting his ass handed to him. There's the meteora. And then Carlito's music hits. Look at Ray's reaction. Look at that picture. Look at Ray's reaction. Like he had no idea Carlito was going to be there. So Carlito finally shows up. Crowd gives him a nice reaction. He starts cleaning house, takes care of Montez Ford, takes care of Angelo Dawkins. Rey Mysterio takes out Angelo Dawkins on the outside to make sure that he is a non-factor in the match. Bobby Lashley not really existent at this point, and ultimately Carlito gets the pin. And Carlito looks phenomenal. And listen, physically, we already knew how great Carlito looked. But in the ring, he hasn't missed a beat. And we got to see where this goes from here. Now, the funny thing about yesterday, like Captain Obvious, did you see all the news reports today? I mean, it's like you almost like feel like they're from the special, like hospital. I'm not trying to make fun of it. You feel like a lot of these writers are from the special school. Our sources tell us that Carlito will be on the SmackDown brand. You don't say. No, he's going to be on Raw. Our sources tell us. Oh, man. I saw that today, and it was not just one place. They write big, bold letters. Our sources tell us that Carlito will be on SmackDown. And guess what? No, I'll be nice today. So the LWO gets the win. Let's see how long Carlito keeps that music. And let's see how long Carlito remains a babyface. I personally think Carlito versus Ray could happen. Carlito versus Santos Escobar, I think is actually a dream match for some people out there. I know it may not be on your very high on your list, but I think that absolutely will happen. Okay, this match, it was okay. The first half of it, I mean, it made sense. Io Sky ultimately retains. The story of this early on is that Io Sky wants to go out there herself. Bayley, they're interviewed Damage Control. Bayley says that Io's got a plan. We got a plan. Io looks at Bayley. I got my own plan. I don't need you tonight. So Io Sky comes out by herself. The very beginning of the match, we talked about it on the Watch Party Friday. We talked about it yesterday on the Don Tony show. When we knew that there was going to be some issue between Charlotte and Asuka that was going to cost them, the match on Friday. Charlotte ended up getting the win. And if you remember last night, yesterday afternoon show, I changed my prediction to Io Sky because once Charlotte got that victory on SmackDown, there was no way Charlotte was going to get 2 wins 2 consecutive nights. But when Charlotte knocked Asuka off the ring on SmackDown, they're wrestling against each other the next day. Even though they won their match on SmackDown, Asuka never went back in the ring. Asuka never leveled Charlotte. Asuka didn't spit the mist. Asuka didn't kick her in the head. Yesterday afternoon, we said, why didn't Asuka do any of these things? Instead there, she was doing George the Animal Steel with her tongue. She's at ringside doing this. But when the match started, everything we thought was going to happen Friday night on SmackDown immediately happened in their match. Charlotte comes out first, then Asuka, then Io Sky. Asuka immediately spits the mist in Charlotte Flair's eyes. That takes out Charlotte Flair for a lot, and she kicks her in the head as well. This is what we expected on SmackDown, but we didn't get it. It opened up the match for this, but it allowed Charlotte to get out of Dodge for a little while, and Io Sky and Asuka going at it for a little while. It picked up as the match went on, and it was a fun match. I mean, you got three of the most talented women on that roster battling it out. So you know you're going to get great quality. But the crowd for a good portion of the first half of the match was kind of dead in this. It started picking up later on. We had, a couple of moves, where all three women are, taking bumps at the same time. Charlotte with a really nice moonsault to the outside. I know some people don't like Charlotte's moonsault because she lands on her feet. I personally think that's one of the smartest moonsaults to do to the outside. You want to land on your feet. What do they want her to do? Land splat on her back or on her stomach? So we had, some moves involving all three women, and every time they did it, the crowd was into it. But towards the end of the match, Io Sky is getting a little bit of her ass handed to her, and Bayley shows up. Bayley is not supposed to be there. Io Sky, a little bit confused, maybe not even happy that Bayley is there. Io Sky gets knocked out of the ring, and Bayley literally picks her up and kind of throws her back in the ring, not as a heel, but trying to get her back in the match. So Io Sky ends up back in the ring, and then you got Charlotte there. You see Bayley trying to help her, pick her up, get her back in the ring. Charlotte puts the figure 8 on Asuka, and as she does that, here comes Io Sky, and she hits Charlotte with the moonsault and pins Charlotte Flair. I know a lot of people were shocked that Charlotte Flair got pinned, but yesterday, as we were saying, the minute Charlotte won that match Friday, we figured she'd get pinned on Saturday. Io Sky pins Charlotte Flair. After the match is over, Bayley is in the ring. And it was funny because Bayley helped Io Sky back in the ring. After the match was over, Io Sky's looking at Bayley like, what you do here? What you do here? What are you doing here? She picked you up and threw you back in the ring. She was telling you, Io, get up, go in the ring. And she's helping you in the ring. I guess she forgot all that happened. But it ultimately was a very good match. Didn't have the energy for the first half that I think a lot of fans expected, but it picked up later on, and ultimately Bayley helps. And, as they walk off, it feels like no tension in the air once again for Damage Control. So Io Sky remains your women's champion. So that leaves us with John Cena and LA Knight versus Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. And when we talked about the betting odds yesterday, there was no doubt in this match, LA Knight and John Cena were going to get the win. You would have had to bet $5,000 to get back $100. So we knew what the outcome was going to be in this match. This was your traditional Gaga match with the hot tag and the good guys win. Pat McAfee comes out first with the Indianapolis custom Indianapolis Colts title belt, wearing it. He's from that area, and he's telling the area that, they should have WrestleMania in Indianapolis. It kind of felt a lot like when John Cena went overseas and told those UK fans that WWE should be listening and have a WrestleMania there. You just don't want it to get into a Jeremy Borash TNA habit. And a lot of you know what I mean by that. When Jeremy Borash used to always tell the crowds that they were performing at house shows, like, you were so energetic tonight. I'm going to talk to Dixie Carter, and we're going to see if we can get a pay-per-view over here. Don't tease Indianapolis like that unless you really think that Indianapolis may get a WrestleMania in the next couple of years. I think the fact that they did bring it up tells me that they may, in fact, get one. Don't think it'll be in the next year or two, but they will get one. So Pat McAfee panders to the crowd a little bit, which was cool. Very well received. He brings out John Cena. And the match is on. John Cena hits the ring. Then we get LA Knight. And then you get Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. And this was a lot of gaga, but it was a match that everybody expected, enjoyed. John Cena actually did a little bit more than a lot of people expected him to do. You know, as I was watching this match, John Cena, you know, early on with Jimmy Uso, a lot of headlocks, you know, Jimmy Uso having John Cena tied up in the ropes, you know, just a stare down with him and Solo Sikoa with Cena. It was slow early on. But as it started picking up, John Cena started, you know, hitting a lot of offense. And as I'm watching it, I can't help but to think back to WrestleMania when he lost to Austin Theory and cut that speech, that statement that he can't do it like he used to. And we know he can't do it like he used to, but he made it sound like that his career is long gone and that if he appears in the future, that it's more for nostalgia than anything else. Cena did more in this match than I expected him to do, but ultimately it was LA Knight to get the hot tag in this. LA Knight, you know, looking great, smooth as silk, hit all of his spots, did the suplex. John Cena did the you can't see me. And I like the way they did it because he knocked Solo Sikoa off of the ropes. Then he hit Jimmy Uso. And then LA Knight with blunt force trauma. And John Cena goes to lift LA Knight's arm. LA Knight refuses. Crowd a little confused for a second. And LA Knight's like, no, I have to pay respect to the GOAT. And I know a lot of people are still annoyed that WWE's calling John Cena the GOAT. Rey Mysterio was wearing a shirt yesterday labeling him a GOAT. There's a lot of people who consider themselves the GOAT. I think some people think Becky Lynch is the GOAT. Listen, greatest of all time. Don't, you know, it's like when wrestlers call themselves best in the world. You know, some wrestlers, listen, even when it's a catchphrase to some of the wrestlers who call themselves best in the world, are they truly the best in the world? Arguable in some cases. I don't pay too much mind to that. John Cena, LA Knight gets the win yesterday. It was more of a SmackDown match than anything else, but John Cena did a lot more than I think what a lot of people expected. It was a fun match. It did everything it needed to do. John Cena in the media scrum did talk about how with the writer's strike in Hollywood cleared, that he is going to be returning to Hollywood soon. And he said he made it clear to everyone that he cannot do both. He cannot wrestle and work in Hollywood. And if he doesn't work Hollywood, there'll be a lot of people that'll be out of work. They'll lose money. So John Cena basically telling everyone, look, I'm here for a short period of time. Now it's obvious John Cena was here because of the strike. But the most important thing coming out of that match yesterday and everything that's going on is when John Cena leaves in November to go back to Hollywood, he would have left LA Knight in a much stronger position than where he was 2 months ago. That really is, John Cena's there to keep the ratings a little bit better, you know, get a little bit more fan excitement at the shows. For some people who miss John Cena, get to see him live, you know, for a couple of months. But John Cena is there to help bring LA Knight, solidify him in a more main event position. And that'll lead into Saudi Arabia. We will see what the announcement will be this coming Friday with Triple H. Will he announce that Roman Reigns must defend the undisputed WWE Universal Championship in Saudi Arabia, crown jewel? And we will find out if it will be against LA Knight. That is a very strong possibility, and we will have to wait and see what John Cena factors in with that. But John Cena, he is there in a lot of ways to help LA Knight. And so far, LA Knight has done a great job. LA Knight is showing that he belongs. He has wrestled for 20 plus years. He had a line last week that I thought was great. It took him 20 years to become an overnight sensation. You know, let that sink in a little bit. But crowd loves him, and they had a great match yesterday. And this leads into the storyline on Friday that we have been talking about for a couple of weeks. Roman Reigns will not be happy. And we'll see how Roman Reigns handles Jimmy Uso. And even Michael Cole said it yesterday. And we've been calling this part of the storyline out for about a month now. In storyline, Paul Heyman talks to Roman Reigns every week. Roman Reigns watches TV. And a month ago, we said, we hope they're not going to do this stupid part of the storyline where Roman Reigns hasn't said if Jimmy Uso's back in the bloodline or not. Because Jimmy Uso has been doing bloodline business for the last 5 weeks. And even yesterday at Fastlane, you heard Michael Cole say, we don't even know if Roman Reigns accepted Jimmy Uso back in the bloodline. You know how stupid that sounds when 5 weeks have gone by? But we've been saying it every week. Do not be surprised when Roman Reigns shows up and says, what is he doing here? As if Roman Reigns was sleeping under the tree for the last 5 weeks. So, to close out Fastlane, we had Shinsuke Nakamura unsuccessfully dethrone Seth Rollins of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Match was a banger. Falls count anywhere. First time Seth Rollins has ever been involved in a falls count anywhere match. And it told a great story. Shinsuke Nakamura working on Seth Rollins' back, hitting him with a lot of weapons, Singapore canes, chair shots, garbage cans, tables. We even seen Shinsuke, do a spot that we haven't seen in a very long time where he lands with his knees, putting Seth Rollins to a table, which the camera work was spectacular. But this was a flat-out brawl. It did everything that it should have done. They were trying to hurt each other. And even if you didn't feel this feud a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, the feud culminated as it should have. A very violent match. Both men trying to hurt each other, using every weapon that they have. He even used ladders yesterday, used the table, hitting every move they possibly could. They brawled even into the crowd. I know there was one point where Seth Rollins took a bump and landed on either a mattress or a padded area. What was ridiculous about that? I had no problem with the spot. There's the knees. That was spectacular. Yeah, there was one point when Nakamura and Seth Rollins were both standing on a ladder right by the announcer's table, and Nakamura spit the mist, and it looked like blood. And some people that weren't paying attention to the match thought that Seth Rollins was busted open, but that was all mist. And for the rest of the match, Seth Rollins looked like he was bleeding, but it was all mist. Here's the spot, though. Seth Rollins falls off the steps, lands on what appears to be a mattress. If you look at the fan reaction right around that area, they were into the moment. You see fans across the arena, and they're all mocking on social media like, oh, look at this crap. Seth Rollins goes through a mattress. What do you want him to do? Legitimately break his back? So I think people were overanalyzing it a bit much. Seth Rollins took some pretty big bumps yesterday, but in the end, remember, this is Falls Count Anywhere. So you had them brawling in the crowd, and ultimately you had Seth Rollins hitting, the curb stomp and putting Shinsuke to a table, and the crowd is, chanting holy shit, and the referee starts counting I will tell you that the very finish of it was a little bit unexpected. I thought that there would have been a bigger spot where Shinsuke wouldn't have answered the 10 count, but you had both wrestlers down. It kind of felt like Rocky 2, didn't it? Where the referee, 1, 2, but you didn't have the close-ups where Seth Rollins is trying to get up, and you didn't have Becky Lynch going, Rocky. But Seth Rollins gets up around the count of 7. Shinsuke starts to get up at the count of 8. But as soon as the referee hit 9, Shinsuke fell back down. And the ref reached 10. Seth Rollins is your winner. And for those that weren't paying close attention earlier where Rhea Ripley took that briefcase, you had a lot of people, okay, when is Damian Priest, where's he going to come out? Where's he going to his music? We did not have Damian Priest cash in, which was the right way to go. I personally don't think it's his time. I think it's Drew McIntyre's time coming up. Maybe not immediately, but Drew McIntyre is going to take out Seth Rollins, and he will solidify his heel turn, and then we will get Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. The question is where and when. Could it happen at Survivor Series? Could it happen at Crown Jewel? I feel Survivor Series may be more in line because Crown Jewel is only a month away. And if Drew McIntyre were to turn and injure Seth Rollins, that is an awful lot to happen in 3 weeks leading to the go-home show to Saudi Arabia. I personally think something else has to happen first, and you take your time. I think Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins could happen at Survivor Series. Again, like I said last night and earlier, I'm surprised as to how few people thought, oh, Drew McIntyre, yeah. What's the point of doing all this with Drew McIntyre if he doesn't win the championship? He ain't dethroning Gunther. They've already passed that road. They've already brawled. That's not happening. There's no other singles title on Raw other than Roman Reigns, who holds both brands' championships. It's Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has to be on the radar for Drew McIntyre, and I think Drew McIntyre is going to be World Heavyweight Champion. I think before WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre, World Heavyweight Champion, will happen. If I'm wrong, so be it. But for 5 matches yesterday, little nostalgia, storyline telling, abrupt, unexpected surprise in a tag team title change. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give Fastlane a 7. I would not rank it higher because there were a lot of people noticeably absent. Sure, not every person can appear on every premium live event, but Gunther, I think, should be featured more on premium live events. If you pay close attention, it always feels like Gunther is usually the one who is left out more than anybody else. I think if you would have Gunther on there, Gunther Ciampa would have been fun, but they sped it up to Reform DIY, and they're going to move in a different direction with Gunther very, very quickly. But we'll see what happens on Raw. So I give it a 7 because what we did get was good. But I think there should have been more. It was a very fast show. 3 hours, a little less than 3 hours, very manageable. Listen, having a 2 hour and 40-minute pay-per-view premium live event is old school. And it's enough where it was a good night, good wrestling, not over the top. Sometimes when you eat till you're satisfied. Not until you sit there, you can't even move. If that is what it takes to get an AEW pay-per-view buy, and that's not a knock on AEW, but it sure feels like AEW's either doesn't have the heart to tell some of their wrestlers, look, you're not going to be on this pay-per-view, or they feel that they got to give over a dozen matches to convince people, I got to buy this. Like everything's got to be like, you can't have a simple Christmas tree. You have to have one that like goes through your roof. Like honey, I bought the biggest Christmas tree that they had. Like you can't just have like a regular Christmas tree. It has to be that, I can't just have Jell-O. There's got to be whipped cream on it. There's got to be a cherry. There's got to be a little bit of syrup, a little bit of nuts on top. If it's just Jell-O, I'm not eating it. That's what it kind of feels like sometimes with AEW. Again, not a knock, but it sure feels that way. Could you imagine if we had to comment about 14 matches right now, we wouldn't even be a third in a way. Okay. All right. So let's finish up with a little sit down, and let me pull up some super shout outs. Today is the 8th of October. Okay. Then we'll go to the chat room and we'll answer some questions before we get out of here. Ronnie C. Thank you for the $9.99, Ronnie. There is a video on Twitter showing last night's Collision about 80% empty. And that's what Edge advertised and appearing. My thoughts. I did see the video. I do not have it here. The reason why I don't have it here is not out of laziness. I appreciate what you sent, and I did look at it, but I don't know exactly what time that video was shot. Yes, it looked like nobody else was walking in the building. And if people want, I will be more than happy to play the video on Monday. But I'm not one of those that shows pictures of empty arenas and you realize that the person took the picture an hour before the show starts. I can't tell what time that video was shot because there's nobody in the ring. So was that shot right before Collision started? Was that an hour before, a half an hour before? I mean, I did watch some of Collision because I wanted to see what happened with FTR, and the building sure as hell looked empty. And with Adam Copeland advertised, listen, we'll get into it on Wednesday. I don't want to spend too much time tonight talking about it. But this is going to offend some people on Wednesday. I have followed Adam Copeland's entire career outside of the Indies. I've watched Edge for 20 years. Honestly, except for maybe the Christian Cage stuff, like if somebody said, like I said, he's facing Luchasaurus on Tuesday. If Christian Cage was not in the corner of Luchasaurus, I'd rather pull my teeth out with a wrench than watch that because I have no interest in watching Luchasaurus. I'm not a fan of his stuff. He's intimidating. He's not as bad as Cornette and others paint him out to be, but I've watched everything with Edge. So if I'm going to watch Edge now, it's for nostalgic purposes. The fucking Hardys get 340,000 viewers on Rampage. What does that tell you? That we've seen mostly everything the Hardys have done. And guess what? I'm sorry if this offends some people, but wrestling fans that are in their teens and 20s probably don't give a shit to see a 50-year-old who wrestled 2 decades ago, who their heyday was 10 years ago. Like, why? Oh, but he's a legend. Yeah, but you Edge and Christian, Kazoos, the Dudleys, the Hardys, Edge and Christian. Oh my God, all right. If I want to see that stuff as in my teens and 20s, I'll go watch the WWE Network. Why, if I did not follow his career at that time, why would I suddenly? I got to drop everything I'm doing to go watch 50-year-old Edge take on Luchasaurus. Why? Why is that must-see ratings draw? Seriously. And it's not just Adam Copeland. It could be CM Punk. It could be, others. There's a few people I think people would be curious as to what they're going to do. Like if Randy Orton showed up, I think people would be curious. Like, wow, that would feel weird to see Randy Orton in an AEW ring. What is he going to do? Who is he going to go after? There's a few people that Cody Rhodes. Yeah, I will keep this balanced. Something that I have said on these shows multiple times in the last year and a half. Cody Rhodes returned to the WWE in April of 2022. And within 3 weeks of Raw, the rating was lower than before Cody Rhodes showed up. Does that mean that Cody Rhodes caused people to change the channel? No. Does that mean that Cody Rhodes is not a draw? No. what that means is that for wrestling fans, he is not the be-all, end-all that, do I do this? Or Cody Rhodes is on, let me watch Raw instead. When you see special themes, Grand Slam Dynamite, Legends Raw, this and that, the Tribal Chief, the Trial of the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns' 1,000-day celebration, Edge's retirement match, there's special events. So that is the deciding factor. But when Cody Rhodes is on week in and week out, it's not, let me drop what I'm doing. I got to watch him and see what he does on Raw this week. It's not must-see TV. There's not many people that are like, even John Cena. John Cena's been back on TV, and there's been many SmackDowns where John Cena is not the highest rating of the night. It's, you're either going to watch it or you're not. And for Tony Khan, I think he realizes, especially after yesterday's collision, that Edge, Adam Copeland, is not going to suddenly get 100, 200,000 fans out of millions to say, oh my God, he's on Collision tonight? Let me go watch it. You're either going to watch it already or you're not going to watch it at all. But I'm not showing that video yet because I don't know what time it was recorded. But the fact that it was as empty as it was yesterday just tells you that Adam Copeland, unless the storyline becomes really intriguing with Christian Cage, you know, for older wrestling fans, there's nostalgia to it. For young wrestling fans, why would I care that much about Adam Copeland and Christian Cage at 50 years old, where if I really want to see them at their peak, I'll go watch old stuff? You have to have a really intriguing storyline. And let me tell you something. Them having Christian Cage say, go fuck yourself, and Tony Khan saying this is the rated R era, like if they're going to start allowing the F word on TV, that is going to be really interesting because believe me, I hope to God, Tony Khan does not think that TVPG is what turns people off, because AEW on Wednesdays has been TV-14 forever. And if you think now because you're cursing and it's not censored that that's going to attract more people, big mistake. Big mistake. I think it's, it's a big mistake. Sorry, for my audio friends, I'm drinking a little water, losing my voice a little bit. Sal Amendola with a 5 spot. Yeet. That's all he said. Yeet. I laughed when Cody Rhodes said it on the Scrum. I'm kind of like sick of that word because everybody online says yeet. Now everybody goes yeet. So, hey, what are you going to do? I'm going to go watch TV. I'm going to go eat. What are you going to, what do you mean? You're going to go eat. What are you going to do? Eat pizza? No, eat, not eat. I'm going to go eat. I think some people don't even know what eat means. It actually has a couple of definitions. It could be excitement. It could also be derogatory, too. Shout out to OTS Tribal Chief. Happy 1 month anniversary of her being a member of La Nostra Familia. She acknowledges me. I acknowledge you right back. And for our channel members, I will announce the winner of the predictions contest from Fastlane later this week. Probably by Wednesday, I will announce it. I'll post it in the community section as well. Yeet. Yes. What? Wait, no. Heat used to be a liquid called Heat. I think it was HEET. If anybody's older like me, even if you're younger, you're going to kick out of this. They may even still sell it. There used to be a pain lotion. And I'm going to tell you, God honest, is a true story. And I can't make this up because you wouldn't know about these little incidentals. Back in the 70s and the 80s, and I don't know if they still sell it, there used to be a pain ointment that you could rub on your skin called Heat, HEET. And I remember it used to be a dark brown glass bottle. And my father used to buy it. And one time I got it on my hands. And I don't know why, but I guess I just wiped my hands off instead of washing my hands. And it had an itch. That's all I'm going to say. The burning, the pain, the heat. Let me tell you something. You do not want to touch certain parts. You don't want to touch your eyes with that shit. Heat is no joke, man. Remember the segment with the Usos and FTR, the Revival? When they put like something in their underwears? They put like itching powder and there was comedy. You put heat in someone's underwears, they'll go to the hospital. That shit is pain. I'm sure if you could Google it and get some history on it, heat. Not eat, but heat. Kappa the Great. Thank you for the 20 spot, Kappa. Kappa! Prayers for the safety of Nero Faye and the citizens of Israel. Yes, I said it at the very beginning of the show. Not just for Israel, but for those in Palestine as well that do not want war, do not want this violence. I was taken back by the shit I saw this afternoon. And, it's really bad. And there's nothing I could say that will do it justice. The only thing that I could do here is just hope that there could be a good, quick conclusion for both sides where this shit stops. And everybody who is just trying to enjoy their life, their friends, their family, their hobbies, that they can continue enjoying it without fearing that they may not wake up the next day. I saw a video today. I don't know if it was in Palestine or in Israel. I saw a video today. It was a highway. And all you saw down the highway were cars. And all the cars were blown out. And obviously rockets just stormed that area. And everybody in the cars were dead. I mean, they didn't show close. I didn't want to see that. I didn't have no interest. But you saw it, and it was just like bizarre. It's just, it really is terrible. I mean, there's a lot of shit wrong with my country. But to me, that's nothing compared to what I see in Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Palestine. I wish there was better news. I wish there was. But thank you, Kappa, and definitely send along your thoughts. All right. Mighty with a 5 spot. Thank you, Mighty. Thank you. Mighty. Who would have thought Cody ended his story with the tag belts? He didn't finish his story. Jimmy's going to be a little jealous. Jay's going to make him jealous. Jay, look what I got. His story is finished when he dethrones Roman Reigns. There's no shift in the story. There's no story finished. This is the 5th inning, if you want to look at it like that. Cody Rhodes will defeat Roman Reigns. That's it. I mean, you got to understand, it's bigger than Cody Rhodes. It's got Dusty involved. It's the documentaries. It's the aura of Cody Rhodes. When Cody, listen, I'm not trying to be melodramatic here, but when Cody Rhodes pins Roman Reigns, there's going to be people crying. It's not just going to be Brandy and Cody and Mom and everybody else. There's going to be a lot of fans crying too. This is going to be something where Cody is going to, in that post-media scrum, is going to look up to the skies and this is from my father, and there's not going to be a dry eye in the building. This is a story that has to have that conclusion. If you're not a fan of that story, look at it like this. Cody could lose one of those 2 championships a month after, 2 months after. And believe me when I tell you, if anybody out there says, oh, what a ridiculous title reign. Roman had it for 3 years and Cody only had it for a month. Dusty Rhodes I always bring it up on my shows, and there's always somebody that gets angry unless I specify it. Dusty Rhodes is not one of the greatest NWA heavyweight champions of all time. He is not one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time. And anybody in the wrestling world will agree with that. Why? Because Dusty Rhodes had the NWA Heavyweight Championship, I believe, 3 times. And if you add up the total number of days of him holding that championship, I don't even think it's a year's combined. One of his reigns was a couple of days. Another reign might have been a month. Dusty Rhodes was the chase. Once the chase was over, it wasn't the same. That's not a knock on Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was the chase. When everybody hugs him and just floods the ring and kisses him and cries, and it's not when he retained the title. It's when he won the title. That doesn't mean that Cody Rhodes cannot maintain a reign, but longevity with a championship does not always make the person. Dusty Rhodes is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, one of the greatest entertainers of all time, pro wrestling. Maybe he doesn't have 5-star matches. Maybe he didn't even have 4-star matches. He's one of the greatest entertainers pro wrestling has ever had. One of the greatest wrestlers. But Cody Rhodes, this story has to be completed. Once this story is completed, the title opportunities will open up to others. With Roman having a stranglehold, they had to create the belt for Seth Rollins. Because now Seth Rollins has the belt. Nakamura was fighting for a belt. Drew McIntyre will fight for a belt. Damian Priest might cash in and win a belt. None of that is possible if that World Heavyweight Championship was not created for Raw. It would be Roman Reigns or nothing. And they did that for 2 years. And a lot of that was during COVID. COVID is still around, but, we're back to regular attendances. So, no, Cody will finish the story. This is not the story finished. This is just a shift in the road. Thank you, Mighty Mighty. All right. Let's head on over to the chat room. Raul Harris, he's a little nervous about Bianca Belair being in the world title picture once the Jade push starts. I think you mean Bianca not being in the world title picture. Listen, Jade Cargill, there are 2 belts. There are 2 belts. There are the tag team championships. Then you got the WWE Women's Championship. And then you got the World Championship. You have Rhea Ripley with a belt. You have Io Sky with a belt. We have a draft that will happen next year. Jade Cargill does not suddenly fuck up a lot of women's chances of being a champion. Jade Cargill is not going to hurt anybody's careers. Jade Cargill will cement her own. Charlotte Flair, when she returns, people think that other people's championships get all fucked up. Io Sky is still the champion. There will be a feud with Bianca and Jade Cargill. That will be history. And I will guarantee you that Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, when they have their first match against each other, it will likely be at a WrestleMania. It will not be at WrestleMania 40 unless Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair face each other earlier. Bianca Belair has nothing to worry about. She's one of the top women in this profession. And she's got many, many years ahead of her. She's been doing press. The reality show's coming out soon. That's why Bianca Belair is not the focus right now. She's not being de-pushed. Fans of hers are a little frustrated, but it's better that she's not on TV getting lost in the shuffle. Jade Cargill will not hurt Bianca Belair. All right. Rocky Red. On the subject of CM Punk, according to his reports, won't Sasha Banks and Naomi be subjected to the same thing if they return? Also, rest in peace, Dick Butkus, who refereed the Battle Royal WrestleMania 2. He just died as well? Wow, we just yesterday paid tribute to Russ Francis, who performed at WrestleMania 2. Dick Butkus. What was his number? His number was number 50 for the Bears, if I remember correct. Wait, it's 50 Dick Butkus? If I'm right, I don't know what the fuck that means. Like, I haven't thought about Dick Butkus since, my God, those commercials in the 80s. How I would even know he was number 50? 51. All right, I was close. I knew it was around 50. I think, was it 50 Refrigerator Perry? Some of you are out there. How does he know Chicago Bears stuff? He's a New Yorker. The 85 Bears is one of my favorite teams of all time, even though I hated the Super Bowl shuffle. So, sweetness. Walter Payton. Awesome, man. Awesome player. Oh, yeah, now I'm starting to, like, fuck up a little bit more. Fridge was 72. That's right. That's right. I do know Jim McMahon was number 9. As far as Sasha Banks and Naomi, that's a lot of John Laurinaitis. They're not going to have to repair fences like CM Punk. There's a lot of, most of the women in WWE are rooting for Naomi, that are rooting for Sasha Banks. They understand that it was more problems with management, and John Laurinaitis was a complete asshole towards them, and that's why they walked out. They will not have to go through what CM Punk will. CM Punk, by the way, we will talk about it tomorrow since Seth Rollins will be on Raw. CM Punk posted a little cryptic cartoon picture today that you could interpret that for 24 hours, him and Seth Rollins will bury the hatchet for the betterment. You know, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeet. But no, Sasha and Naomi will not have to go through what CM Punk needs to mend fences. Sasha and Naomi, different management, different ownership. Yeah, Vince is still there, but Sasha Banks does have a love for Vince McMahon. You know, he's not the devil, you know, as people perceive, you know, in some people's eyes. I know that pisses people off, but that's just a fact. All right. Kevin Milwaukee is asking, do I ever listen to old wrestling theme songs with my wife? Does she like any classics? I don't listen to theme songs with her, but once in a while when I'm pulling up like clips for wrestling history and a theme song will come on, she'll be curious, like, wait, who's that song? Like 2 weeks ago, we played Steve Regal. He's a man, such a man. She knew the song. I couldn't believe it. She's like, wait, that's that Regal guy, right? And I'm like, yeah. I was shocked that she even knew that. But no, I mean, we don't watch much nostalgic wrestling. She watches the current stuff. You know, that's one of the cool things. My wife is a wrestling fan. And that kind of like helps because when I do the shows, you know, she's cool with it, you know, as long as it doesn't interfere our personal life. But I still have all my themes. Still have them. Benjamin. What's up, Ben? How about the name Dawn Tony for a fake jobber girl for people who steal my show results? Dawn Tony, I wouldn't mind that. Like, you know, maybe if I changed my gender, if I, you know, identified myself, maybe I would call myself Dawn Tony. It's fine. My favorite name is Abul Shita because I actually called myself that for a while. For those that don't know, back in the day, we had Eddie Guapo, indie wrestler here in the Northeast. Eddie Guapo, really, really good guy. I haven't talked to him in ages. I hope he's still in wrestling. They created an Indian character for him. And a lot of you know this story already. I actually bought through eBay a legitimate Indian robe that was blessed by, you know, a woman. I went to her house and she did a blessing. She wanted to know why I was buying it and what it was for. When I told her, you know, she originally was very concerned. I said, no, he's an entertainer and it's not to mock. And I gave him the robe, the turban he used to wear, even the theme music I came up with, but we needed a name. And I wanted to call him Abul, Abul, Shetta, Shettah. And the Masked Maniac says, nah, I don't like that. But so I started using it on my show. And when you say it fast, I am a bullshitter. A bullshitter. You know, so on my shows back in the day, I would be like, hey, this is Don Tony, a.k.a. a bullshitter. He went with Gandhi, Rhea, Akbar. That's what the Masked Maniac went. You could not do that in 2023. Imagine Eddie Guapo coming out there and his name, if you say it fast, is Gonorrhea Akbar. Gonorrhea. And we did Italian names. We did, so listen, I don't want anybody that's Indian get upset. We did it for Spanish. We did it for Italian. You know, I'm just telling the story about Eddie Guapo because he was a good guy. John Laurinaitis caused a lot of problems over the years. That is true. I still have the Johnny Ace signed photo. One day we want to do a giveaway. We want to give away a Vince McMahon and a Johnny Ace, John Laurinaitis signed photo. I got the People Power photo. And by the way, speaking of stuff, Bray Wyatt. I'm still here. Do you know, and if I need to, I'll take a picture tomorrow. I'll even shoot video so you know it's not an old picture. I went on eBay today, just out of curiosity. You know these gift boxes of Bray Wyatt? I still have about 10 of these. Never opened, still sealed. If I open this right now, I don't want to damage the box. If it doesn't open right away, yeah, this one I'm not touching. This one, yeah, this one I can open. If you look inside, you could see the shirt is still in there. Everything is still sealed. These things on eBay now are selling for $250 a piece. $250 a piece. In some cases, the first gift box, they're selling for almost $400. I'm like kind of blown away, like how big, like expensive they got. I mean, obviously Bray is no longer with us. And no, I'm not putting him on eBay. But yeah, they're selling between $250 and $400. You know, especially if you have a shirt size that nobody could get, like XL or even like 3XL, 4XL. It's crazy how much the shit's going for. Even the LA Knight stuff. Seriously, if any of you like buy autographs to try to make money in the future, you missed the boat on the LA Knight stuff. You might want to start doing it with maybe Gunther or somebody else you think is going to really catch fire. Because LA Knight, I still have a bunch of autographs. I got a lot of them through trades, or if I bought some, I paid like $20 for them. And there's a lot of LA Knight autographs now that were selling for $20 6 months ago and now selling for $150. It's pretty wild, you know, the value of some of the things going up. So, all right, let's get back to questions. All right. JS with a comment. He likes the idea of the Fart Foundation with Brett Shitman Fart. You know, maybe in the 90s. Brett's retired. I know Brett sometimes comes off as a grumpy old man. But if you look, we pay tribute to the Hart Foundation. That's them right there, right next to Taz, when he was the Tasmaniac. I like the Hart Foundation. I like Bret Hart. I have a Bret Hart statue right there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. See, my wall is a little bit crazy back there because I haven't touched the positioning of the wrestlers. Hold on. I haven't touched the position of the wrestlers, but suddenly, like, everybody in the same row is deceased. And we had Bray Wyatt in the role, and I can't remember who else back there, but it's just, you know, a little strange. But all right, let's start bringing this home because we actually went longer than we should, but it's a double episode, so we knew we were going to go a little longer tonight. Isaiah Coyote, what are we going to call the current era in the WWE? Well, I think it has to coincide with new ownership. And I think it's still a little too soon. Let's give it a little time. let's see what leads into Mania. You know, a year from now, WWE will look a lot different because the Bloodline storyline, I think, will be a distant memory. Roman Reigns, we don't know his position, what it'll be on the main roster. We don't know where LA Knight will be on the food chain. Cody Rhodes would have finished the story already. Will Jey Uso ultimately have a heavyweight title? Let's see who shows up from AEW that signs with WWE. It's going to look a lot different a year from now. So I think right now, it's there. Just because there's no name right now doesn't mean that there should be a name. We got to give it a little bit more time. That's my honest take on this. All right, shout out to Triple X with the 555, the 555. Thank you, Triple X. DT, you are the funniest wrestling podcaster. In fact, a Nostradamus of wrestling. I am glad your prediction of Edge in AEW was right. Fastlane sucked. There's nothing about me that makes me an expert. Honestly, you remember sausage, everyone? I haven't used that term in about 8 months. I stopped. I intentionally stopped. For anybody who's newer that didn't know, I started doing something a year ago, and I called it sausage. And I know if you look at the definition, it kind of is skewed a little bit, but my dad, what does this have to do with wrestling news? I'll tell you why. And believe me, I'll always be remembered for this because believe it or not, some journalists still credit me for it. My father owns an Italian deli since 1982. And they make their own sausage. And when you buy sausage, you could buy thin sausage with cheese and parsley. You could buy it hot. You could buy it sweet. You could buy it with fennel, buy it without fennel. You could buy breakfast sausage, whatever. Make sausage and peppers, sausage and eggs, whatever. But you buy sausage, whether it's in a supermarket or an Italian place, you get it, it's already made. You don't know how the sausage is made. Like, how do you get to what your final product is? And basically, I talked about this a year ago, that outside of Fightful and Wade Keller, even though I'm not a big fan of his, but outside of Fightful, Wade Keller, Bill Apter, PW Insider, Dave Meltzer, a few people in Sportskeeda, and a couple other sites. I can't give you the full list right now, but outside of those, everyone else is just a cut and paste site. I did cut and paste 20 plus years ago. I got my website in 1999. That was 24 years ago. 24. If you go on Wayback Machine and type in wrestling-news.com, you will see my website from 24 years ago. And I used to copy and paste news like everyone else. And a lot of people out there lie. They guess. They have a 50-50 chance of getting something correct. Somebody's going to be brought to the main roster. You got a 50-50 chance of being right. Will he go to Raw? Will he go to SmackDown? Our sources tell us so-and-so is going to Raw, unless you do something moronic earlier, like, Carlito will be on SmackDown. So I was showing last year to show how easy it is to break news and have no direct source with it. Now, I do talk to people in wrestling. I do get information when I want it, when I need it. When I want it, questions answered, I will reach out to people, whether it's wrestlers, whether it's somebody who works behind the scenes. I've made friendships over the years. It's not a bragging thing, but I made friends with people. Some people online, we just have a mutual friendship. I do get DMs from people I work with in WWE and AEW. A lot of podcasters do. Big fan of your work. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't ever change this and that. And if I really want something answered, people will trust me that I'll do the right thing. So last year, I wanted to show you how easy it is to break news without sources. So when Vince McMahon stepped down, there is nobody online that has a direct relationship with Vince McMahon. Even the female journalists out there, they have not buttered up Vince McMahon enough where he calls them up and gives them a scoop. So when you hear that WWE management, Vince McMahon. You think anybody out there mingles with Nick Khan? You think any of them mingle with Bruce Pritchard, Kevin Dunn, Vince McMahon? Do you think Triple H? You think any of those journalists, hey, Hunter, what do you think of this? No, they don't. So when Vince McMahon stepped down last year, and Brock Lesnar walked out of SmackDown, I was sitting in a diner when that news broke. And this was the time when I was exposing all the bullshit with the wrestling news world. I went on my Twitter and I wrote sausage. Anytime I wrote sausage, it was not an actual news story. It was me doing what a lot of these sites were doing. So I would write sausage as a way to tell my followers, look, this is not actual news being reported, but this is an example of the bullshit people do. So I wrote sausage. My sources tell me that Brock Lesnar was contacted by Vince McMahon, and Vince told Brock, if you walk out of WWE, you walk out on everything that I created, and please do not walk out. I will still be around. Please do not walk out. Brock went back in, and at the end of the show, if you remember, he tipped his hat to the camera. Everybody online reported that Anthony DiBlasi, Don Tony of the Don Tony Show, reported that Vince McMahon contacted Brock Lesnar and said, if you walk out of WWE, you walk out on me and everything that I have built to this point. And it was sausage. It was a figment of my imagination. It was an example of what people do. And never in a million years did I expect like a whole bunch of legitimate, legendary wrestlers and podcasters like, Don Tony reported that Vince McMahon contacted Brock Lesnar and texted him and says, if you walk out on WWE, you walk out on me. I was sitting in a fucking diner. Go look at my tweets from that day. I was sitting there eating an avocado salad, and I said, let's have a little fun. And it went all over the place. I don't want to say it went viral, but now to this day, people still bring up, and if you go on my Twitter, at Don Tony D, go in the search box and type in the word sausage and look at every article I wrote. Everything turned out to be true. Even the TV-14 stuff. Sausage. My sources tell me that WWE cannot become TV-14 without the approval of the advertisers, the investors, the stockholders, and the network. And they ended up being right. And it was just common sense. It was not news. That just shows you how easy it is to do what you do. I could do that right now. I could literally just do sausage every single day, and I'll get shit right. And people think I have all these direct sources in WWE. That's how easy it is to pull this shit. CM Punk. I heard Jim Cornette's podcast today. Dave Meltzer reports that CM Punk, his camp is talking that he'd be considering the return to WWE. That's, you know what I mean? Like, suddenly, like, people associated with CM Punk are now going to talk to the people who did everything they could to ruin his Collision appearances. You know, come on. It's not easy. It's not hard to, pull this shit off. All right. Loose Cannon Creations. What are my thoughts on the Netflix effect on OVW's live attendance? Do I see Hollywood Haley being picked up by anyone like Impact or even Ring of Honor in the future? I could see Tony Khan bringing her in for an appearance or two. Absolutely. Impact Wrestling is a possibility as well. Impact, Hollywood Haley is not demanding crazy money. So I can't see why Hollywood Haley cannot be an Impact. As far as OVW getting a little more interest at house shows, it's an indie wrestling company. It's not the OVW that I remember from 20 plus years ago. And yes, Al Snow runs it. Yes, there are some familiar names there, but locally, just because it gets more attention on cable, on Netflix, doesn't mean that suddenly you're going to have 5,000 people in attendance. They're in their neighborhood. If people want to go see wrestling, they're going to go. Just because it's on Netflix, you're not going to get like casual people say, oh, I got to go. No. You might get a little more attention out of it, but no. Netflix is not going to suddenly equate to big money. No. Yeah, the OVW now is OVW in name only. But that's not a knock on OVW. But, the Netflix series, I've watched a little bit of it, and it's very good. But if I lived in that area, I either was going to OVW already, but Netflix is not going to change my mind to go. I mean, over the years, some local promotions here have gotten some decent coverage, press in the local news markets. They'll do a special. And, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go. Like, I'm not going to need a TV show or anybody that's going to sway me. No. Okay. Let's start bringing this home. We're at 2 hours and 10 minutes. I guess we could do like another, maybe like 10 minutes. Oh, yeah, Eddie Chaos. I'm looking for, oh, you know what? Great comment. Tuesday Night War. I'm going to try this. For those that have ever been to one of my watch parties, for those that may have wanted to go but never went before, you might want to consider stopping by Tuesday night. Playback.tv/Don Tony Show. I am going to try to do the impossible. We're going to do a watch party Tuesday night. It's going to be from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And if I can technically pull this off, and so far I've been able to, tomorrow is going to be the ultimate test. I will have AEW and NXT streaming at the same time. We will have picture in picture, and we will rotate. Those who are live during the watch party, if we see something going down on NXT that should be our focus of attention, then we will have that on the big screen, and we will have AEW in the picture in picture in the background. If we see something happening on AEW TV that we definitely want to see and hear what's going down, that will be on the screen, and NXT will be picture in picture in the background. Somebody told me to do 50-50 screen. I don't think that would be the smart way to go, especially since we're only going to have one audio source going. We're not going to have two audio sources going at the same time. That would sound horrible. But yeah, we're going to try to do the impossible Tuesday, and we're going to have NXT and AEW going at the same time. Just to show that some pro wrestling fans out there can like both without, admonishing other fans of a different product. There are some of us out there that like both. But yeah, Tuesday is loaded, man. And now with The Undertaker making a special appearance, we got to see what The Undertaker is going to be doing. But yeah, Tuesday's going to be a fun night, man. A lot of you want my ratings prediction. I will give one Monday night. I still have to think about it a little bit, but I will tell you on the surface, I think NXT is winning this. And it's not even fair to say it like that because, I'm curious what the rating's going to be. But I'm not one of those that's going to laugh at one or make an excuse, because there's going to be some people out there, no matter what NXT's rating is going to be, they're going to criticize WWE. If AEW wins on Tuesday night, they will go, ha ha, WWE, you loaded up NXT with all of your main roster who don't normally be there and you still lost. And then if NXT wins, you will have the same people say, ha ha, you could only be AEW because you needed your main roster. That just goes to show you that you don't have faith in your NXT stars. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. All right. Let's see. I'm looking for questions, trying to spread it out a little bit. This is your last chance if you have any questions you want me to answer. Otherwise, we're going to jet. And yeah, definitely look at, I had to mention this too. I can't believe I forgot to mention this earlier. Yesterday, they showed Shane McMahon's son, Declan McMahon, who is, I guess, going to Indiana, and he is on the Indiana Hoosiers football team. That is Declan McMahon, the son of Shane McMahon. And somebody brought this to my attention. That is the same person as the baby in that infamous picture with Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon, just to show you how fast time flies. I remember that picture when they put it online, when Shane McMahon had a newborn, Declan. And just to show you how time flies. That's crazy. That is crazy. Triple X with a 222. Thank you, buddy. WWE has the best camera quality with TNA number 2 and AEW number 3. You know, I will tell you this about the camera quality. I noticed yesterday how different an arena looks when you have a bad attendance. And that's not poking fun at AEW, but you look at Collision last night, it was so dark that it just looked gloomy. And some of the wrestling was good. I mean, some of the matches were fine, but it looked gloomy. And you could see that some areas, they were intentionally dark to cover up how few people that were there in attendance. Those that were there were very energetic, but, you know, the lighting definitely comes into play. WWE's camera work is great. It should be great, especially, you know, who they are. Sometimes it's annoying, man. When they do the different camera shots and the different, you know, cameras, oh, man, sometimes I get dizzy. There's times where they'll hit 40, 50 different camera shots in a matter of a couple of minutes. I remember last year, I don't remember what match it was, but I remember one match within like 60 seconds, they had like 28 different camera shots. And it gives you a headache after a while. The production is solid, but, you know, Impact is good, but Impact is very simple. Sometimes simple is good. I used to love ECW's camera work, and it was so raw, even with the fan cams, but, you know, you didn't miss a beat, and it doesn't have to be polished. But yeah, sometimes the darkness is cool, but, you know, in some scenarios, it just looks gloomy. I thought Collision looked gloomy yesterday. Yeah, Kevin Dunn is responsible for the obnoxious camera work. I absolutely agree. Sometimes it is just overkill. And it really, you know, it's not often that I change the channel because of the camera work, but sometimes it just is so annoying that I'll just go on my computer and check email and just listen to Raw in the background. Sometimes it's overkill. They've kind of pulled back on it a little bit, which is good. We don't talk about it. Put it this way, when we don't talk about it, that means it's not so bad. It's not that we're used to it. It's just not so bad. All right. After his showing against Hangman, do I like Swerve's chances against Danielson? Yeah, I think Swerve absolutely is going to win. Absolutely. It's for a TNT championship. It's not a knock against Swerve or Bryan Danielson. It's the fucking TNT title. You know, I mean, big deal. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a network title. There are so many titles in AEW. Like, TNT is not high on my list. But yeah, Swerve, I think Swerve is getting championship soon. Swerve definitely has earned it. AEW is acknowledging him. AEW recognizes how big he has the fan base online. And Prince Nana has been doing a spectacular job. I absolutely think Swerve is going to beat Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson doesn't need this win. No, I think Swerve will win it. And that'll be fun. We do that Watch Party Tuesday. We'll watch it as it goes down. Yeah, Declan is already in college. Just shows you how fast the years go by. Crazy. All right, I'm going to jet out of here. We're at 2 hours, 20 minutes. But don't forget, Monday night we have Raw. We will do a Raw post show. we'll talk about Raw. We'll do a little bit of, ratings for the week. I do have all the ratings. SmackDown and Rampage will come out tomorrow, and we'll get into it. Some of the ratings are surprising. As we talked about yesterday, if you take away the overrun on Dynamite, MJF drew a bigger rating than Adam Copeland. And the early reports of Collision's rating is very low. Yes, Fastlane was on, so I kind of give that a little bit of a pass. But, one thing is, I think people are realizing quickly that Adam Copeland, and it's not a knock on him, but how many fans that weren't watching AEW before are now going to watch because he's there? Is Christian versus Adam Copeland in 2023 strong enough that fans that don't watch AEW right now are going to tune in? That is not a knock on either guy, but that is a legitimate question you do have to ask yourself. If you're already watching AEW, this is icing on the cake. But for fans that are not watching AEW right now, how many are going to tune in because of that? I don't think it's a big number. Just like Cody was not a big number. Once that curiosity factor went away, Cody just fit in with everybody else. And I think that's what's happening. And that's another thing, too, we're going to talk about Wednesday. The low house show attendances, not named Wembley, AEW's got to start going to different markets that they haven't been before, because they keep going to the same markets over and over and over again, and the prices are not cheap unless you hold out to the last minute and get like a buy one, get one, or get like 50% off, which would be the same technically. Well, yeah, if you go more than one person. But, you got to start trying to get some new viewers, because, listen, if you depend on the same people, same areas over and over and over again, you're going to get some people that will be like, you know what, look, I used to go every week to this place. I'm kind of tired of it. I'll go next week, or I'll go every other week. If you don't start building fans in other areas, the ones that, are kind of complacent right now where, their product may not be must-see viewing, you have to replace them with others. You can't just depend on your audience that you have had already. You got to try to, I think that's why WWE branches out to like the Bad Bunnies and the Logan Pauls and acknowledge the entertainment world and the football world and this and that. And even if you see a little bit of interaction with UFC, not on a big scale, you're always trying to get a bigger fan base, a bigger fan base, a bigger fan base. And that's something AEW needs to address. So, all right. I am going to jet. So tune in tomorrow night for your Raw post show, and we'll see what the fallout is with the Judgment Day. We'll see Cody, and tomorrow night we'll see some big plugs for Tuesday's NXT. I heard from somebody who I trust in Florida that a few people from NXT will be appearing tomorrow. Not necessarily, in the ring, but they are going to do everything possible tomorrow to get everybody who's watching Raw to tune in on Tuesday. Cody will definitely name drop it, obviously. Everybody, I'm going to be on NXT Tuesday. Big announcement, major announcement. So they're going to do everything they can to get everybody who's watching Raw tomorrow to watch NXT Tuesday. So, and then Wednesday Night Dynamite, we will continue that conversation. And when we do Wednesday Night Dynamite, we will know NXT's rating and we will know AEW's rating. So it's going to be a really interesting night Tuesday. For wrestling fans, this is Christmas early. It's like we got an extra holiday, that we don't normally get. That's how I look at it. Just enjoy what goes down Tuesday, because we will not see that again for quite some time. So much love, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And I'll catch you all again soon. Be well.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.